honest, religion really keeps women stuck in these dead marriages.
This thought was at the front of my mind the entire time I was watching that series. And I'm going to tell you why. For 2 years, I was married to a very narcissistic pastor. At the end of that thing, my life was turned upside down. In my own healing journey from that relationship and doing lots of introspective work, lots of deconstructing my faith, I was able to get to the bottom of why my self-esteem and self-worth were so fucking low. Some people won't understand what kind of blinders religion can put in front of you, especially if you're a woman, to the red flags and pitfalls that you can find in relationships. So I took a moment to jot down some overarching themes, ideas, sayings, and direct pieces of advice that I received when I was a part of the church that really made it super easy for me to become susceptible to manipulation and narcissistic abuse. Starting off strong, a very, very common overarching theme of church, of the Bible, of the Christian faith is that you were born dirty and you need God to clean you. A lot of people aren't going to see a problem with that statement, but you end up with an ingrained feeling that you are not worthy. You came here as a baby already not worthy because you were born a sinner. A lot of negativity can spring from a mindset like that. Much like the way Risa expressed there being a desperation behind her search for a mate due to her age and her biological clock, I had a similar stain on my record because I was a single mom. So I was often treated as if the way to cancel out this very, very obvious sin is to get married and create a family unit that is now going to be blessed by God. And that kind of connects to another overarching theme that a woman, especially a woman in the church, is just simply not fulfilled in life until she has a husband. I've heard people say across the pulpit that a rib cannot live without a body, alluding to the great importance of the man, the body, and the side character, the sidekick, the supporting actress role that is the wife. Something that I always noticed and would get shut down for when I would ask about it is the multiple women's conferences and prayer brunches. I specifically remember an evening with the king, which was a banquet that was just for women, along with like purity balls and purity ceremonies and things like that. I noticed when it came to the men and the boys, everything that they were involved in seemed like it was just fun. It didn't involve study or education or anything like that. They would do things like go to UFC matches, on outings to watch different sporting events. They would go to paintball, whereas women were always expected to be under instruction, under tutelage, always learning and pushing to be the best mom, the best wife, the best homemaker, the best godly woman that you could be. There was also this expectation of you as a Christian to be this unending well of forgiveness with really not a lot of accountability around you. It was presented like your access to heaven is completely dependent on your willingness to forgive and how well you forgive. I'll give you an example. You know the scripture that mentions if your brother offends you, you are to forgive your brother 70 times 70 times, right? There's another scripture that includes a passage about if your brother smacks you on one cheek, you as a good Christian should turn to him the other cheek. Give that other cheek up for him to slap too. That paints the picture that you're getting bonus points for heaven the more that you forgive. That in particular was a reason that I ended up staying in the marriage much longer than I should have. I thought that my salvation depended on my ability to stick it out and forgive my husband no matter how many times he offended me. This next one is a direct piece of advice that I received from a pastor. I was feeling super duper depressed in my marriage. And so I went to one of our pastors and I said to them, a friend of mine has been experiencing like feelings of depression. What do you think about that? What kind of advice should I give her? That pastor looked me dead in my face and said, having depression means that you're hopeless. If you're a Christian, your hope is in Jesus. So how can a Christian be depressed? That pastor literally gaslit me into feeling like my feelings weren't real, my feelings weren't valid, and actually that depression wasn't even a real thing and you really just needed to pray it away. I felt that that was a sign that I should stay in my marriage. Another doozy is God made women so that their bodies can burn fat longer and slower. That's why a husband and wife can both work all day, and when they both arrive home, the husband sits down and expects his wife to be able to still make dinner. That one was actually said across the pulpit. They're kind of trying to tie in biology to the reason why your husband is feigning this incompetence and this fatigue and weariness when they get home, and expect you to still have that pep in your step to make them something to eat. And the last piece that I want to share, this is a direct piece of advice that I received from a pastor in leadership. God made you strong because he knew you would have a hard husband to deal with. Anytime that I did get the courage to reach out to someone to ask for help, advice from leadership, or just encouragement and support, I was most times met with gaslighting, with dismissal, and made to feel like my prayer life and my faith were just simply not strong enough, and that there was some internal work that I needed to do to figure out why I couldn't handle the husband that God gave to me. In 2016, I left the marriage and I left the church for good. My life has never been more peaceful and full of purpose.